Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar on accelerating energy transition. This is Faiz Wahid, Regional Head of Sagacious IP in Europe. And we are here to talk about the topic distinguishing technologies with proof from technologies on paper. And I have with me two esteemed guests, Erik Nijveld from TechnologyCatalogue.com. He's the managing partner and co-founder there, and Arvind Vasu, who is the India and Sweden partner for TechnologyCatalogue.com. Before I move on and talk about the speakers and then hand over to them to make the presentation, it's interesting to kind of see that based on the sustainable development goals and the clean energy requirements coming out of the green future that we all want to see, accelerating energy transition has become one of the key ways of achieving that. And today, the main presenter, Erik Nijveld, Erik has a strong track record of leading the development and deployment of technology across organizations and across disciplines. And he's the managing partner and co-founder of TechnologyCatalogue.com. And this platform is one of the fastest growing technology platforms for driving the energy transition. And I welcome Erik to this panel.
Thank you, Faiz. Thanks for the invite.
Thanks, Erik, for joining in. Erik also has extensive experience with Shell, and in his last role as the technology deployment manager, he set up Shell's technology replication thrust for what they call production excellence. And so I'm sure that he's going to share a lot of deep insights based on his experience, based on his past experience working in the corporate and also as an entrepreneur driving the collaborative environment and ecosystem and creating an ecosystem for accelerating the energy transition. So along with him, I also have Arvind Vasu, who is the India and Sweden partner for TechnologyCatalogue.com. And Arvind is an entrepreneur and professional with rich experience in corporate venture capital, industrial automation, and sales marketing areas. Also specifically in the areas of robotics and automation. And he has held several leadership roles. And he's going to basically add to this conversation about how this platform is being used by users through the help of partners, where he will share his experience on enabling the energy transition through this platform and by meeting the user requirements. So welcome, Arvind, to the talk as well.
Thank you, Faiz. Thanks. Very happy to be here and excited to meet everyone on the webinar.
Great. Thanks for both of you to join in. And just a little housekeeping note that we'll be taking all the questions at the end of the presentation. So I request all the audience, if they have any questions, then they should please post them in the question box on the right side of their options bar on GoToWebinar. And we'll pick up those questions at the end and take them. So without much ado, I invite Erik to start with the presentation. Erik?
Yeah, thanks, Faiz, and hope you can all see my screen. And with the title page on it, Accelerating Energy Transition, and the subtitle, to distinguish technologies with proof from technologies on paper. So Faiz already highlights a bit of my background, so I don't need to go into much further detail here. I would just like to say that essentially all my roles in my working life were related to getting technology deployed, not just in the energy industry. I also worked for a brief period of time in the steel industry, as well as in academia. And 3 years ago, I started a platform, TechnologyCatalogue.com. But certainly in my last role at Shell at the time, when I was technology deployment manager, one of the things we got going at the time was the replication of technology. And this is the uptake curve we realized in those days. In around 2010, we started this replication drive, and it all started based on the observation that certain technologies in a big company like Shell were deployed in one geographical area and not in another, or in one business unit and not in another. And also at some point in time, we started looking outside of the company, and literally before we realized it, we had a long list of technologies that other companies had done and that we hadn't touched yet as a company. And it was no criticism, but just a reality that people often don't know what's available, who has used what. And people, even within one country, often don't know what others have done that could also be of use to their business or what's already under development. So we got a lot of deployment work done in those days, a lot of impact made, not just proven technologies, also as we started the deployment of proven technologies. Those proven technologies also help to pave the path of novel technologies. And it's also good to highlight that technology deployment didn't just happen in good times, in the case of the oil and gas industry when the oil price was high, but definitely also when the oil price was low. Different type of technology, but definitely a lot of impact made. And yeah, it depends on the economic conditions and on the industry and on your specific situation, which technologies apply. But there's definitely a lot to be gained from technology. But certainly something that we saw over the years is that yeah, people often struggle to find out, hey, what are the best technologies? Where can I find about technology? And I mean, no doubt many of you have been to exhibitions at some point in time. And yeah, exhibitions can be pretty overwhelming events. And some of them can be enormous and very overwhelming. Google can help to an extent, but if you type in things in Google, you have to be very specific. So just to illustrate, I typed in energy efficiency technology, and I got a very large number of results. So not very helpful. And for that reason, and also based on the experience over the years, we launched a platform called TechnologyCatalogue.com. So any one of you in this call can access it. You can go to the platform right away. And the platform, in a sense, works similar to platforms we're used to in our daily life to find about hotels or restaurants or other things. Of course, getting technology deployed is not the same as choosing a hotel. But there are similarities in the sense that what this platform aims to do is to make it visible, transparent, what is out there. So with the platform, end users have technologies at their fingertips and to pick and deploy the right technology for their business. Suppliers can use it to create visibility for their technologies. In a sense, it's a 24/7 exhibition. And then the third group that is part of this community are tech experts. Tech experts contribute with writing credible reviews based on which end users can decide that the technology can also be of use to them. And also with the support from tech experts, it also helps the suppliers, because yeah, a supplier can say whatever they like about their own technology. Of course, that's important, but nothing helps more than to complement it with support from independent experts. So that's how it works, and the platform connects these different groups to each other, and we offer matchmaking services, tools, and data analytics. So the platform has grown significantly since it was launched in 2018. Clearly, when this was launched, this was something quite new in the industry, although the idea sounds straightforward. There wasn't such a platform when we launched this in 2018. And by now, we have almost 800 technologies on the platform and also a very active user base. So you see a couple of numbers here, users from all over the globe. large community in Europe, but certainly also US, Asia, Middle East, and also Australia, and a very steep upward trend when it comes to the number of users. So the number of unique users right now is over double the number compared to how it was half a year ago. So let me just illustrate with a few examples how this platform can be of use. One of the things that where it can help is to build a tech portfolio for your company to reduce CO2 footprint for those of you in the audience that are end users. I mean, creating a long list of technologies, that in a sense is fairly straightforward, you can say. You can just go to an exhibition and you ask all the suppliers, hey, what have you got? But with this platform, you get the insights to pick the right ones for your business. And part of it is possible via this public platform, TechnologyCatalogue.com. And we also offer more specific insights. But one of the things that most technology on the platform already have, and I'll show you a specific example in a minute, is that the technology can show the relative business impact. The impact that can be made when it comes to CO2 reduction, cost reduction, production, or safety improvement. And that relative impact can already help to make a selection. And the more specific insights we can deliver then help further to build a tech portfolio to indeed reduce CO2 emissions, as well as to improve performance on other metrics. This is one example. It is an example for which Ves has written a review. It's a technology from a German-Dutch supplier, a freshwater mill, freshwater and electricity with one windmill. I won't go into the specifics of this technology, but I can say it's definitely worth having a look at it. When you go to the platform and type in the name of the supplier or the name of the technology, you'll find it. But certainly with a review that in this case Ves has written, that helps to get the confidence and also think, hey, this technology that could also be of use to my business. And certainly that's where the role of experts come in. They may also be able to help with further assessment of this technology. And just one other example from a company in Delft, actually the same location where we are based. In this case, a seismic reservoir characterization technology from a supplier called Delft Inversion. It does not only apply to, in this case, oil and gas, or for the extraction of oil and gas, it can also be applied for carbon capture and storage. Also in this case, the suppliers indicate the relative business impact. And what you see again are a couple of reviews, but also a couple of companies that have applied the technology. And not to say based on the description that you see on this platform that the technology will apply right away to your company. Your situation may be different. But hey, if multiple independent people or end users have said this is technology that was of value to us and multiple companies have applied it, then this is clearly technology that is not just there on paper. There's clear proof, and as an end user it can help you to make a selection, because if multiple people say, hey, this is good technology, then it may at least be technology to have a look at. But also as a supplier, you can make use of these reviews and references to indeed get further credibility and further support for your technology. It's a bit like in daily life that whenever you need to take decisions yourself, a relatively small decision like, hey, what plumber to choose for my maintenance activities. The moment you need it, you typically go to your neighbor. If you don't know a plumber yourself and you ask your neighbor, hey, do you know someone? And the only thing you need to know is the thumbs up from your neighbor. But also big decisions in life, like where to buy a house if you're new in the city and not sure where to buy or rent a place. Yeah, you typically ask around. And if 10 people already live in a certain part of town and they all say it's a great part of town to live, yeah, then it's an easier decision to go and buy something than if you're the first one to move somewhere. And it's indeed amazing how much of our own money we're prepared to spend based on these sort of reviews and references. And with technology, it's the same. These reviews are not the whole story, but they can help to make a decision. So let me take one step back and present to you a bit of a technology and innovation framework, a typical framework that we use and support our end user customers, clients with, to put a bit of process in place around technology deployment and technology innovation. So what you see here is an overview with 6 areas highlighted. Let me briefly go through them. Typically, the starting point is that an end user company needs to keep an overview of their business needs and challenges. And then it's also important that they have an evergreen overview of technologies that can help there. The next step then needs to be taken on a regular basis to do mapping to make sure that for the business needs that exists across the company, that technologies that companies have in their database, that they're mapped against those. And if there are no technologies available, then the needs need to be fed back to R&D to make sure that the research program is started or that technologies are being sourced. The moment the mapping is being done, that's when the work starts to execute the deployment. And that's effectively by treating every single technology deployment like a project with attention to detail, to take decisions, start the planning, execute, but also review at the end. The moment the review is done, it's important again to feed it back to R&D. And based on the needs from the business, the continuous feedback about the performance of technologies, but also external insights, patent insights, market insights and trends, R&D can do their job. And at various stages of the R&D stage, technologies that can be internally developed, but also come from the outside, can be fed into the technology database. And naturally, as an overarching element, it's also important to have a strategy and also pay attention to the culture. Linking it back to the start of this presentation, a key element is to have a evergreen technology database. And that's where clearly the link with this platform that we have, TechnologyCatalogue.com, comes in. That helps to feed end user companies with an evergreen overview of applicable technologies. And besides the public version of the platform, one of the things that we also support companies with is to create your own ring-fenced area as part of the infrastructure of TechnologyCatalogue.com, only accessible to your own employees. And what's clearly a key benefit there is that it avoids, as an end user company, that you need to build and maintain your own technology catalog or database, but instead the entries are being kept up to date by the suppliers. And from a supplier point of view, the advantage here is that your information that you update on the platform then also feeds into the customized version per company. So you know the moment you highlight a new technology deployment case or a new review, that it then also feeds into the area of these end user companies. And this is effectively how it works, such a platform. And certainly for those of you in the audience who are end users, I would be more than happy to give further backgrounds. How it effectively works is that suppliers can add technologies to the global platform, TechnologyCatalogue.com, and technologies are then being fed into your parts, your tech platform, based on your challenges and your criteria. For example, you can say, I'm interested to know any technology that comes into the global platform that reduces CO2 emissions. Or my criteria is that I want to know about technologies that have been used X number of types in certain countries. Or you can also say, I'm interested in only novel technology, and so the TRL level shouldn't go above a certain level, say level 5, and I want to know about new developments. That's up to you as an end user. But certainly, and this is my final slide before I'm going to hand over to Arvind, certainly such a platform as an end user, it saves you time and money in different ways. First of all, it helps you to identify available solutions or solutions that are under development to address your challenges. So it helps you to get an overview. It may also help to avoid that you start an R&D project yourself while there's already a solution available under development. As highlighted already, the platform, such a version of the platform is kept up to date by the suppliers, and they have an incentive to do so. And also as an end user, it saves you a lot of time to talk to many different suppliers. And also from a supplier perspective, it makes your life more effective. You're only talking to those end users that are really genuinely interested in your solution. So it affords a lot of time, say, identifying potential customers. For an end user, you can select technology based on external reviews and references. And it also helps to influence the system, because it's not just you who need to convince your colleagues about technologies. You can also highlight to this platform and say, hey, I'm not the only one saying that this is great. People on this platform say the same. So in a nutshell, this platform, the global platform, as well as the customized version of the platform, help suppliers and users to make the system more efficient. And it is growing rapidly. If you haven't seen it yet, please have a look. Please go to technologycatalogue.com. If you want to know more about the specific things that we do, like the customized platform, more than happy to give further background. The way we work is we work with a group of tech experts, and that's also how we got in discussions with Vees and his team. And we also work with country partners in different countries, like the US, the UK, the German-speaking countries, Australia, and also with India and Sweden. And that's why Arvind is part of this call. And for the remainder, would like to give the floor to Arvind. Or perhaps, Vees, is there anything you would like to say first before we hand over to Arvind?
No, thank you, Erik, for that presentation. I think it gives a good overview of the technology catalog platform for the end users. And I think Arvind, I will invite him to kind of speak more about his experiences as a partner and enabling, enabling the connection with the end users with the platform. I didn't mention it in his profile that he's also the founder of Avatar Business Consulting, and he has been sort of engaged in advising a lot of startups and corporates and venture capital companies. So I think his experiences, what I would also want him to kind of focus more on is how he sees the end users actually benefiting from the platform. So over to you, Arvind.
Thanks, Vees, and thank you, Erik, for that kind introduction. Yeah, I'm Arvind Vasu, and I'm the founder of Avatar Business Consulting, and I'm normally based in Chennai in India. But today I'm speaking to you from my other home in Sweden. So you see the nice pine forest, the Swedish pine forest in the background. And that's actually defines my background, because I'm both Swedish and Indian, part Swedish, part Indian, and have lived most of my life in India, but visited Sweden frequently, and also lived here for a number of years. So I started my career as a trainee engineer at an engineering company called ABB here in Sweden, and they basically took me around the world. So I've had a lot of roles in the IT related businesses, process automation related business, and several of those roles have been in sales support, sales and marketing. So I have understood, very clearly what our customers in those days needed in terms of support for managing their factories or plants where they needed to automate different processes. I've also had the privilege of starting up ABB's robotics business in India. I was quite interested in robotics technology even during my university studies, which I've been privileged to have university experience both from India as well as in one of the better institutes in Sweden. And during that time, I did a study on how new technologies are adopted in emerging economies. That was part of the thesis, but of course, the study was sponsored by my future employer, ABB, and it was like a market survey on what are the potential for robotics in India. So technology has always been part of my DNA, or become part of my DNA. Um, I have had also an experience, as Faiz rightly mentioned, as an investor at ABB Technology Ventures, and many years after I left the company, I was recruited back to ABB to start their investment activities in Asia, and that's where I come across a lot of tech startup companies, working either in energy management, smart cities, smart buildings, EV charging, robotics, automation, and other spaces where you use a lot of technologies like today's buzzwords are AI and IoT and machine learning and cybersecurity and data analytics and what have you, but also a lot of deep tech startups, as the venture world calls them, but they're basically startups that require engineering or scientific research to come out with products or solutions. Yeah, and by the way, I've also worked for a welding company called Kempi, who's based out of Finland, and was their first managing director in India, and set up a business subsidiary company in India. So my consulting work has focused on the network that I've built over these years, and I offer services to startups as well as venture capital firms, whether they are venture funds or they're corporate VC outfits. And I also have a couple of corporate customers that I work with. I think we can transition to the next slide, Erik, because when it comes to technology catalog, I found it was perfect uh, partner for me because they work with technology and they help make connections between end users and suppliers of technology. The world I come from is not only energy companies but also industrial companies of both in process automation as well as discrete manufacturing, where I have my experience. And technology suppliers these days are the people who are at the cutting edge, working with new kinds of technologies. And technology is changing so rapidly, so it's difficult for a large end user corporate to keep up because it's changing so fast. And the days of having your own R&D for everything are in the past. So the mantra has been for a lot of companies, and the IT industry has seen that with the big five, choosing to work and collaborate with a lot of startups in order to come out and bring out new technologies. But it also can be, corporates looking for or end users looking for new technologies to solve specific problems. With Technology Catalog, you not only get a flavor of what technology is available in your local country, but you can access technologies from virtually any part of the world. I was actually introduced to Erik and his team through one of my startup connections, the company that I had been working very closely with, called Flutura, who do data analytics. So I'm here, thanks to Derek and Krishnan and the guys who made that connection, for Shrikant especially. Yeah, it's interesting the way the technology catalog works. There has been a lot of interest from Indian corporates also to look at new technologies, whether they are in the energy sector or whether they are in an industrial or manufacturing sector. And actually, there was a member company in the technology catalog from Holland who reached out to me because they were members of technology catalog and subscribed to their services, and they wanted business development help in India. So I was able to work with them and connect them to suitable partners who they can potentially engage and sign long-term agreements with. So that's very satisfying when you're able to do this. And I think for tech startups around the world, especially my Indian startup friends, scaling and growing their business is key to their survival. And if they can find new customers through Technology Catalog at the other end of the world, it gives them a foothold to eventually, open a branch office there or start doing business and expanding their solutions and also business volume. So I think it's like a live catalog that can do so many good things for whether you are a technology supplier, a small or medium-sized company, or a large company who is an end user. It depends on how you make use of the platform, and I'd certainly recommend that people should take an active part because it's not going to give you a benefit directly if you're passive. It helps that you subscribe to some one of the services or multiple services and actually make use of them. We have a team in India who I've recruited, and what we do is we're available for both corporate end users as well as startups. If you want to talk to us, if you need help creating your page, because we found that in the beginning a lot of companies register with their name and contact details, but then they don't actually put the amount of time required into building a good technology page, which includes photographs or PDF documents or other testimonials or a good description of your product and services. Once you do that, you become more visible, and especially if you have a tech expert, and hopefully you find a guy as good as Faze who can write you a fantastic recommendation. It would really help promote you to the kind of end users that you want to see. And if you're a corporate, I mean, you have access to the world in terms of the best and the latest technology that you may need to solve your problem. So I think I'll stop there. If you have any direct questions, Faze, or additional comments from Erik, they're most welcome. Otherwise, I'll thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to everyone this afternoon.
Thanks, Arvind. Yeah, I think some questions have flown in, so I will also make a note of that, and I have some of my own based on your presentation and talk. So, Erik, the first question to you is: we saw the platform and we understood that it's a way of accessing technologies. Or looking at them or discovering those technologies. Is there any limitation in terms of what kind of industries do you address and what kind of technologies do you allow in this on this platform, or is it a little open-ended? Is there any focus area?
Yeah, so our starting point 3 years ago was oil and gas, because that's what our background is. Our aim has always been to make this a platform for the energy transition. So what it's now going towards more and more is that it's first of all a platform that can help to reduce CO2 emissions. It already does list 4 different industries, but also important to highlight, and those can be the quickest wins for companies. Very often technologies not only reduce CO2 emissions, but can help to improve safety, reduce cost at the same time. And those can be some of the quickest wins to end user companies. So at the end, our aim is to improve the business performance in different industries and resulting in CO2 emission reduction, as well as improvement on other metrics. One of the things, just to highlight it as well, what people can see on the homepage when they go to the platform are cross-industry themes. Sometimes industries have a tendency to think that their industry is unique and the problems only exist in their industry. But in many cases, things can apply to multiple industries. Digitalization is all over the place. Robotics is linked to that. And indeed, what the platform aims to do is to make sure that technologies get visibility in those different industries.
Right. And when you talk about industries, you specifically mentioned that you already cater to about 4 of them more specifically. Could you also give us their names just for the people to understand what kind of sectors you are actually impacting through the platform?
Well, so the moment people would go to TechnologyCatalogue.com, you see 4 industries listed there: oil and gas, renewables, ports and maritime, and also petrochemicals. At the same time, we also launch platforms per country, and there the focus can be slightly different again based on where the real focus, the main focus is. And perhaps Arvind, you can comment on that also from your perspective.
I think in terms of India, we will be launching an India technology platform that under TechnologyCatalogue that's connected to the other platforms as well. But we are very open to include other process industries like metals industry or cement or mining, because I think there are technologies that go across different industry segments, and we're also not averse to including manufacturing sector, like automotive, for example, who also could be part of the same database, and basically we provide the same sort of services in connecting technology players with the end users there.
Great. And just to understand, once let's say an end user wants to identify a specific technology area, how does that process work? Like, what is the typical engagement model that somebody would come to you and say that, hey, this is my problem, or you go to them and say that, okay, these are the areas where we could help you? How does that conversation start, and how does that process go in terms of helping? Is it just the portal which they have access to, or do they also have access to some sort of advisory that Arvind was also talking about. And one specific questions, after this, I will specifically ask you about how the technology transfer actually works, because that is, we are talking about technology here, and of course, the suppliers are there to show their services and or their technologies, and buyers are there to acquire them. But then there are a lot of issues around technology transfer itself in terms of how the IP will be shared and how the services will be delivered and those kind of things. So first, if you could focus on how the process works for a typical end user to actually benefit from this platform, like what are the steps involved, and then secondly, if you could also comment on the technology transfer aspects of dealing with this platform. How do you help or assist the supplier to protect their technology as well?
Yeah, certainly I can start here, and Arvind can chip in. So an end user, the moment you see a technology that's of interest to you on the platform, you can contact the supplier directly. And also the contract would always be directly between the supplier and the end user, so not via the platform. And also, just to be sure, as a company, TechnologyCatalogue.com, we don't work on commission basis via this platform. So suppliers can pick different subscription fees and choose from there. Having said that, we also deliver additional services, and that if, for example, a supplier needs extra help with getting entry, or if an end user needs help with the selection, we can help there, or we can help. We can link the end user to a specific company that can help, one of the tech experts, for example, in our network, or one of the country partners. But the contractual arrangement is kept straightforward, and also the technology transfer part with that. But certainly the aim that we have with the platform is to make it more transparent, and also just make it easier for anyone in the system to replace conventional practices with doing something different. And that difference, and that's a part of a question perhaps the previous question didn't fully address. The technology on the platform, technology doesn't necessarily have to be new. Technology will be 10 plus years old, but can be completely standard in one part of the world and novel in another. I can mention many examples over the years, things we got going, or things that had never been done here in the Netherlands and have been done in other countries. So, and it could still be of huge value to the end users and also to the supplier making business. And but the platform is there to make the links, and we make things visible with providing data insights and matchmaking services to link up parties. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, Arvind, would you like to add anything on that based on your also additional background of being an investor in technology ventures? What's your experience with respect to these kind of transactions? Like Erik said, of course, they are between the supplier and the buyer, but do you see issues of technology transfer and IP around these kind of engagements?
The technology catalog is primarily not meant to be for technology transfer. It's more a buyer-seller kind of relationship that we help to foster. But of course, in the startup world, they could probably find a strategic corporate partner maybe, and then that's a matter for them to discuss directly. And from Technology Catalog, we're not getting involved as a middleman in any way or taking any commissions for that. But on the other hand, like Erik says, that if the local partner for Technology Catalog can be of any help, I'm happy to advise in terms of the investment or startup collaboration or engagement or things like that. I'm happy to do that, because that is part of my regular business, which doesn't include Technology Catalog directly.
Okay, and Erik, you touched upon one very specific thing, and probably it needs to be highlighted a bit more, which is about the transferability of technology solutions from one industry to another or one geography to another, because many times within an industry we feel that this problem is our own problem and nobody else would have ever experienced it. But when you actually go out and involve, let's say, some external experts like Arvind, or external consultants, you find that those consultants have encountered those problems in other industries, or at least similar problems, from where the technology or the solution could actually be modified, tweaked a bit, and applied to this industry to solve a very different problem. So what I wanted actually is to run home this point. If you could think of any example from your experience where you saw such a thing happen, it may just help drive the point home. So if you have any examples, yeah.
Well, actually, one example is something that happened right at the start of my career at Shell at the time. That was quite interesting. And I mean, I highlighted this before the platform started, but it did trigger how much we can learn from other industries. I worked on a technology at the time related to wells in oil and gas. And there was a technology that expanded the metal tube, the metal pipe downhole, such that you can, say, create a slimmed down version of the well. And so metal was classically deformed downhole, and for example, expanded against the casing, and to, for example, seal off any leaks in the casing, if you can picture that. That was actually a nice example of something that came from the medical industry, where they already did that to repair arteries. And clearly, in order to write all the patents in those days, naturally, people had a good look of what already existed in terms of patents, and to make sure that it could be written up in the right way. And clearly, to do that, you need the right type of support. So that's just one example, but it's certainly an example that you can see today on the platform. Let me just highlight one area related to logistics. Logistics is not the domain of any industry. It happens everywhere. I mean, not the sort of intellectual property domain of one area. You need to move goods and people everywhere. And the type of solutions that you see in the mining industry to optimize the movement of staff in the field, it also applies to any other industry where they try to optimize the kilometers that people are on the road, to track where people are, and to make sure that the movements can be optimized, and to use the right tools these days to indeed optimize that performance. And also very relevant in now in the times of COVID, where indeed the staff movements are optimized as much as we can. So, I mean, I could literally give hundreds of examples, and even domains whereby people say, hey, that is purely, for example, oil and gas. Well, that's also not the case. For drilling wells, you also need wells for geothermal. And so you can say essentially every technology that you see on the platform today already is not exclusive to one industry. It applies to multiple industries.
Right. Right. And in fact, coming from the IP world, I can also see that, and lately we have been doing this. So there are certain things which have been traditionally out there in the industry that you can do with patent data. Patent data is almost 130, 140 million patents globally. It's by some standards they say that it's about 80% of the world's technical knowledge is captured in patent data. So it's amazing what you can find there. And one of the things that some of the clients ask us to do is scout for new applications for existing technologies. We call it new application scouting. And I had a very similar experience from a chemical industry in the cement industry, the technology was having an application, and because of the ecological issues, the cement industry stopped using that technology. It was chemical composition. And then we were able to find a different application in the semiconductor space for the same technology. So the transferability of these solutions is really powerful, and I think platforms like TechnologyCatalogue.com would really allow people from a different industry to look at different solutions and discover them. And I think on the platform, it's very easy to consume that kind of information as well. Otherwise, if you go in deeper technical literature, it's very difficult to consume the kind of technology explanations that are available. So great. I have one more question, and this is maybe Arvind can start with it, and Erik can add to that, and that's about the platform, and it has some customers, and I wanted to ask you if you could share some of your experiences of working with some tough clients, with very demanding clients, and kind of how the platform has been able to help them. It's difficult to serve tough customers, but if you are able to serve tough customers, then that really proves your value proposition. So if you have some experiences, maybe starting with Arvind, and then if Erik, you could add to that.
Well, I don't think we've had two tough customers in my experience so far with Technology Catalog, because I've only been a partner to the Technology Catalog for since the beginning of this year. We are currently though focused on bringing as many technology suppliers on board before we start focusing more on end customers, at least for India. So maybe I'll pass that question on to Erik, if you don't mind. Sure. Erik.
Yeah, and from an end user perspective, I wouldn't call it so much top customers. It's more that people get very curious the moment they see so many solutions out there. They are naturally keen to see, hey, what else is missing? And although the platform already does have about 800 registered technologies, it's only a subset from what's there. So people are keen to see more. And yeah, I mean, and suppliers, the moment they are on the platform, they do immediately expect a lot of response. But one of the things is important to highlight is that as a supplier, you can say steer things in the right direction. Say the moment you are on the platform, ask for a review, and the moment you have a review, post it on social media. And it's fantastic if you say that your technology is great, but it's even better if someone else says it's great. And so use the platform to your advantage. And if you don't do that, don't be surprised that not many people look at your page. If you do it in a too passive way, but if you use it to your advantage, then and let the system do its work, and actively share your page and ask for feedback, that is incredibly powerful. That makes your sales and marketing job an awful lot easier. And it is, of course, something that we help you with to make the most of being present on the platform.
Yeah, I think I can echo that, Erik, and probably what you're saying is what I tried to say initially when I was making my presentation, that you have to make use of the catalog by staying active. On the other hand, Faiz, to answer your question, I would say in my short history with Technology Catalog, which is about 4 or 5 months now, I know that they are working like a startup, and they're all the time innovating, because every month they have a partner meeting. They're always coming with something new. they're responding to feedback from us as country partners, to what our customers in the local markets are saying, and constantly adapting the platform to provide different services. So one of the things that they're coming up now with is an idea to have these technology challenges and give awards to the best technologies in different spaces. So I think that's certainly going to help attract more technologies and end customers to the platform. Yeah, there's a lot of support coming in terms of the backend team also coming and reminding customers and technology providers to update their pages. Hey, we see that you haven't added this. Can we help you? And that's a great attitude to have.
Right. There's one more question just came in from Peter, so I'll ask that, and before we close the session, we have 2 minutes. So the question is the catalog a good platform for those at a prototyping stage as well, or is it only for fully developed products only? So here is the first, the title, distinguishing technologies with proof from technologies on paper. So the question is if you are on paper or proceeded a little bit more from paper, but still not fully proven, is it still a platform for us to be there?
Absolutely. So roughly 80% of the technologies on the platform are proven, say TRL level 9 or whatever system you use to demonstrate the maturity level. So proven. But certainly when your technology is still under development, you can still use the platform to already test the interest from the market and to see where your potential customers can be. So in that way, it's a safe way to see where potential markets can be. But also, these proven solutions very often can help you to pave the path. My own experience has always been that end users at whatever level, they're very reasonable people, provided you first make money with them with things that are proven, and then they're prepared to listen. Like in daily life, I mean, if now here my doorbell here in The Hague rings and someone tries to sell me something that impacts my roof or my other parts of my heating system, whatever, I mean, I'm not going to let anyone just experiment without any proof. But if it comes on the back of things that have first been delivered that make money, it helps. And so use the platform and the experts on the platform to get credibility for your solutions and test the market.
Great. I think that's a good note to close the session on, that it's not necessarily just that your technology has been used by hundreds of customers, but even if you are having a technology which you believe in and there is a market for it that you would like to test for, then the platform is there to support you. And that's a great kind of segue for us to come to the end. And thank you, Erik and Arvind, to share about the platform and about the support that is additionally available in terms of expertise and advice along with the platform, which will really help and ensure that the energy transition is accelerated by bringing the right technologies to the front and being adopted by the end users. So we haven't talked about a lot on that, but I'm sure you're doing it, like not only helping suppliers to get on board, but also helping users to select and adopt technology solutions, as a platform. And I think that's a great effort to build this ecosystem and bring those solutions to the market. So thank you so much for sharing those insights with us, and I hope everybody has learned a few takeaways from this session, which they can come back to you with, and through the platform and through your LinkedIn connections, I hope, and and we hope that this conversation continues and this effort continues to bring fruits. So thank you a lot. Thank you everyone, and thank you everyone for attending as well. So have a great day, and looking forward to see you at your next session.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, and thanks for organizing this phase, and thanks to all your colleagues from Sagacious, and for everyone for joining the session. Thanks so much.
Great session. Many thanks for organizing.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Cheers.